Welcome to The Wedding Wear with Officiating by Amanda. Welcome to The Wedding Wear with Officiating by Amanda. On today's episode, got something fun, something different, something exciting. So I have with me one of my brides. And so we're going to do a little Q&A, some advice. I won't say how long the bride's been married, but the bride has been married for more than a hot minute. And so we'd have some really great advice to be able to share just for anyone else going through the wedding and the process. Like I said, this is the first one of these, so definitely drop a line, drop a comment of things that you wish you'd ask in these. I'd love to include them in for future episodes and future series of this type. So I'm going to kick it on over. I will do a disclaimer. We got ourselves some mimosas going here and some bubbly, and we're both grown adults. So language, yeah. If you normally listen to this in the car with little ears, save this for like your morning shower or something else. So I'm going to kick it over. So who are you? How long have you been married? And any nerves on coming on the podcast today?
That is a lot. That's a very existential question of who I am. No, just kidding. My name's Jess. I have been married for, it's going to be 9 years this spring. Yeah, 9 years. And what was your last part of that question?
Any nerves with being on the podcast?
Oh, no. I was really excited when you asked me. I'm really happy to just be here and support you and just be a part of it. I'm just happy to be here.
Oh. I'll also share the episode out right before this one is actually the wedding where I didn't know what I was doing, and it's tales and adventures from mostly the first wedding I did, but also some of the other weddings where I found myself in particular instances where it's like, yeah, what do I do? But a lot of the elements that are going to be highlighted actually were from your wedding as my first wedding. So thank you for taking the chance.
I remember that, and you did a great job. Honestly, you did a fantastic job. The church we got married at tried to be like, oh, if you want to use our priest, that's fine, but it's going to cost extra monies. And I was like, I have a friend who just caught her officiating license. Let's just see if she wants to do it. And I was actually very surprised that you didn't charge us at all, because you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to charge you for whatever this is.
I think we talked over like the dress. I was kind of like, hey, you want me in a certain dress? Like, let's talk about this dress.
Yes, yeah.
I think that was more of our arrangement. Plus, again, I was back in the day of we'll work for food. So
yeah, it was open bar.
Yeah.
So you got away with quite a bit.
We'll work for food was my first few weddings. Awesome. So I'm going to take you back in time. Let's think 9 years with your wonderful husband, Joe.
Hold on, I need some more.
Yeah, let's get a, when we get a sec, let's get a cheers to Joe.
Yay, Joey.
Cheers,
I like him.
Yeah. So
also, spoiler alert, this is our second mimosa.
Exactly. So how did you and your spouse meet, and anything in a meet cute about your engagement story?
I'll tell the engagement story first. So it was December 21st. I don't know the year. 2013, probably.
A while ago.
And yeah. And we went to the Lehigh Valley area. It was a historic Bethlehem area with two of our best friends. And it was supposed to be like, oh, they want to go to a really fancy restaurant. And I was like, that's weird. They don't do that. But cool. Sounds great. Not with us anyway. And we got there, and the place we were going first had horse-drawn carriages outside. And I was like, oh, I've never been on a horse-drawn carriage. I want to do that one day. And my husband, my then boyfriend, was like, you do? Do you really, you want to do it now? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. Do we have time? And he's like, yeah. Unbeknownst to me, he had already bought the tickets for the horse-drawn carriage, and we were waiting in line to get those tickets, not to get into the place that we were going to. And so he comes back with the tickets. We get in this beautiful carriage. It was like a white carriage, white horses, red throw blanket. It started snowing on our carriage ride. It was sundown. It was beautiful. And he asked me to marry him, and our friends took pictures, which was why they were there. Not just to celebrate with us, but also to take pictures and like be like, as inconspicuous as possible about this whole thing.
Even though you're like, that restaurant, not really their vibe.
Yeah, no, not their vibe at all. Like, at least not with us. Like, maybe if there was like their anniversary, yeah, they totally go there. But with us, it just was like, why? We usually go over to their house. We play party games in like, they have a beautiful little refurbished like
They do.
basement
They do.
area and a bar area. Like, why would we go out? We can just go there.
We go out so that you can get engaged.
Yeah, I figured that out. And then we took a picture in front of the horses at the end, and the people in the carriages behind us were clapping, and we got free drinks from wherever we went that night because I don't remember.
I think that was the biggest piece of advice you gave me when I got engaged. You're like, make sure for like the first 2 months that you're engaged, go everywhere and tell everyone you're newly engaged.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Get the free things.
Oh, yeah. Because people are just like, oh my gosh, really? That's great. Here's some free dessert.
A little snippet. How'd you guys meet?
Oh, right. Yeah.
You put the cart before the horse on that one. I think you really.
Yeah. Well, so because here's the thing. We met over a man having a heart attack. Basically, my husband and I are both in EMS, and I was with my fire company. He was with his ambulance corps at the time, and we got called to a cardiac symptoms. It was a very sweet older man, Italian. He was sitting in his lazy boy recliner when we walked in front of his TV. He's like, yeah, I got chest pain. And we were like, okay, sir, do you want to go to the hospital? And he's like, no, I don't want to go. And then you hear from the kitchen, by the way, the whole house smells amazing. Like, this woman is cooking the most amazing pasta sauce I've ever smelled in my entire life.
And if it's a typical Italian family, it's probably all the food.
Yeah. Oh, and it was like 8 o'clock at night. So she must have been like prepping it
for the
like
weekend.
Yeah. It smelled so good. And she goes from the kitchen, you're going to the hospital. I'm not doing this again. From the kitchen.
Now, as a married woman, how many times have you said that? You're like, Joe, you're doing this. I'm not telling you again.
So, okay, I don't have to do that with him.
Lucky.
Because usually it's like, okay, dear. And he listens.
He is.
So he's a wonderful man. I am very, very lucky. He's fantastic. So he yells back, I'm not going to the effing hospital. You can't make me. And it turned into this thing where she's like, you're going. She comes out of the kitchen with a wooden spoon and she goes to their bedroom, starts packing him a suitcase. He goes in, starts unpacking the suitcase. So he's unpacking, she's packing it. My husband, then unknown to me, they have this little, like, it was a fake cat, but it looked like a real one. And they put it in their like little table and he's like, that cat okay? And we all go, Joe, that's not a real cat. And he's like, all right, well, I'm just going to go get the stretcher then. I'm not doing this. And I followed him outside and like, because we were leaving, it was going to be their call. We weren't dealing with it.
They elected.
And I introduced myself. We said names. And then it was like a cat and mouse game for the next few months of like, I'd jump his company's calls. He'd jump my fire company's calls. And like, just so we could see each other. And then finally, it was a fire prevention night. I found him and I gave him my number. I asked him like for his number. I'm like, can I have your number? Can we exchange numbers? Because I felt he wasn't going to do it. He swears he was getting there. I was like, yeah, but you didn't. So I did it for you.
If Joey doesn't have the chutzpah, you do.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. I knew what I wanted and I wanted him and I got him and I tricked him. So there we go. Slanja.
I know that we kind of made reference to you were my first bride and everything, and I know how you found me.
Popped your apple cherry.
But
there's an explicit content warning on this.
There is.
I don't.
And again, I know that when I got ordained, it was not going to be. It was just a.
Yeah, you were like, I did this for funsies.
It was a backup plan. I think I called it Plan like G.
Yeah.
Will you just kind of tell the others like what made you go like, yeah, sure, I'll take this leap. I'll go with an unknown.
Oh, well, because you weren't unknown to me. We've known each other since like middle school. We've been like best friends since middle school. And I saw that you got ordained and I wanted you in my wedding. I couldn't afford to kick another bridesmaid out because I did kick one out because that was just. We're not going to get into that.
I know. I'll have you back on another episode of like bridal sagas and trials.
Yeah, that sounds great. But yeah, no, I didn't have room in the bridal party, but I was like, Amanda's like one of my really good friends. I want to make sure she's involved in my wedding. She's special to me. And then you got ordained, and I was like, perfect.
Right.
She can be involved in everything. I made sure you were in the pictures. I made sure you were like consistently involved in like dress shopping and
Yeah.
all that stuff because I love you.
Mhm.
And I wanted you a part of my day.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really, really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah.
You were fantastic. You did a great job. And we unlocked a door to a new career.
Right. And as I shared in the earlier episode, I've shared it in a few episodes. There's certain things that I will like do for one wedding. And then when I get done, I go, ooh, that's going to be something more different. So your wedding, I memorized the script. I
remember that.
had like tanning packages because I
You
knew
had a book,
I
but you didn't look at it.
no, I knew that I needed to be tan. So I would actually practice memorizing your script while I was in the tanning bed, tanning ahead of your wedding. And
You were glowing.
ever since, thank you. And ever since your wedding, it has now been one of my like add-on fees, or it's in like my top tier package, like memorization available upon request or like additional payment. Cause I'm like,
Because you need to pay for the tanning fee so that
never,
you can memorize.
never doing that again. Never recommending to do
Yeah.
that again. But I've had lots of weddings where I've thrown out something and I went, it was great. I'm glad I did it. I stepped into a role that was needed of me for the time, but I take a step back afterwards and go,
But I really
never doing that again for free.
I think it's one of the things I appreciate about you, though, is that you take every wedding as a unique new experience.
Yeah.
And you kind of just mold yourself into what that bride is in need of.
I'm a
And
chameleon.
I love that. Like today with the wedding that's happening.
That,
As of this morning, you found out you're going to today.
that'll get covered. Although that is not my quickest booking. I had a few weeks ago, I had a 4-hour booking.
Wow.
Yeah, they came over from Pittsburgh. I got an email at midnight that said, "Hey, are you available?" I'm like, this is so spam. This is such a scam.
Yeah, and I'm an African prince who lives in like,
Because I've had those.
Minnesota.
I've had scammers that I've had to fight on the webpage. They're like, "Oh, we'll pay you more than you asked for, but we'll send it in check and you have to pay the other vendors." Like, yeah, no.
Why are people awful?
They suck.
I swear.
So I responded to the email at midnight, but I didn't get anything back. And the next day at like 10 a.m., I'm like, if they really are trying to get married, they did have a phone number listed. Let me just give a call. So I gave a call. I'm like, hey, what do what can I do? How can I help? They're like, yeah, we were at a resort in the Poconos and we saw your name and we'd like to get married today if possible. Literally 12-degree day. 12.
Oh, is that week?
Yes. In the snow, in the ice, 12-degree day.
And that week.
I said, oh, okay. What time? They're like, well, we want it when the sun's out. I'm like, you've got mere moments, friends.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, we want to get a couple things together. Can you meet us in 4 hours? Yep. So from the time of talk to the time of wedding was 4 hours. That's my quickest booking.
Jeez.
Could you pull off a wedding in 4 hours? I mean, and
Could I?
Yeah.
No, I'm not trained. No.
Oh my gosh. Well, talking in bits of wedding, we're gonna, all right, take yourself back in time.
Okay. Here we go.
Almost 9 years. So, and I love that, even though there's been some time and distance since your wedding, like that gives you some more clarity onto like what really mattered and what that day really was. And as you know, there's been people gained and people lost and all those sorts of things in between. I think that gives you such a good perspective to now be able to like look at these questions versus if we had talked 6 months after your wedding.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So what is one thing that you think brides often forget to consider when they are planning a wedding? I know you talked a little bit about like the time intensive. Ooh.
Bouquets. So I didn't know this either until Nature of Our Faith told me about it.
I should have her on.
You really should. She was fantastic. But she told me, listen, you don't want to throw your bouquet during the flower toss.
And you had real flowers.
I did not have real flowers.
Okay.
I had fake flowers.
Okay. But even then.
Because I wanted to keep them forever. And I don't know how to dry flowers because I do not have a green thumb. So, because one, they were cheaper. Two, they last forever. But she's like, you need a separate bouquet to throw. A smaller one that's not heavy, one that doesn't have my sharp grandmother's brooch in it. It won't hit someone in the head, although that would have been a fun time. And I don't think many brides realize that they need a second bouquet
If
to
you're gonna
throw
throw.
if you're gonna do a bouquet toss, so that you one get yours back and it doesn't get smashed to pieces. But because some people can be real aggressive,
I don't even think I went on the
they can
floor
be
for
real
yours.
aggressive.
I don't.
No, you
I
didn't.
don't. I don't.
No,
It was too much.
it's funny. Is one of the firemen I was talking about that was grinding on my dad earlier. She caught it.
Yeah.
She caught it, and I was it the asshole that got the
Yes,
garter.
it was.
It's the asshole that got
And
the
then he was
garter,
like, "Ooh, an entryway for a future conversation for tonight." But
not realizing she didn't like him like that. She didn't like
any
any
man
man
like
like
that.
that. So I'm
Well,
excited and happy for her.
did you catch at my wedding that I didn't do a bouquet toss, but we did? We had a surprise engagement, so I'd coordinated
I did.
With Nick's now soon to be uncle, that because he was like, "Oh, you'll do bouquet toss." I'm like, "Listen, sir, I'm 32 years old. Most of my friends are married. They're not stepping." All of my bridesmaids had smaller bouquets, so I had repurposed them, one of them for the anniversary dance to give off to my aunt who'd been married for 50 years, and then the
Oh.
other one was repurposed them for the engagement that had happened. So in a way, like I kind of thought the same thing, like, right, I'm not going to do a bouquet toss, but these bouquets are going to be used in other ways, and how do I make sure that I have something that, like, it's not gonna absolutely, like, I'm not handing off my bouquet.
So
In the planning realm, how did you and your partner incorporate your personalities into the day? Were there any little special features that you're like, yes, must have? Now you didn't have, I really expected you, because I've known you for so long and I know Joe, to have had like a party themed wedding, but you really
like Harry
didn't.
Potter, yeah.
You went very like
So
light with
yeah.
anything, or very traditional, even with the ceremony. I was like, Joe, I could do like my precious. I think Joe said, when I hand you the rings, can I say my precious? And I'm like, oh, that's cute. You're like, no.
No. Yeah.
I think the only thing we got at the end was he had his Star Wars cufflink, Star
So
Trek.
I got him Star Trek cufflinks, and then so that he could wear at the wedding. Also, I don't know if he knows where he put those. It's been 9 years. And the ring box was Star Trek ring box.
And in the vows, I was allowed to say, may you live long and prosper as
Yes.
husband and wife.
Yeah. I did it mostly for him.
Very-
He's a big Trekkie. I am not.
Very light. But were there other elements that you really brought your personalities into?
Honestly, so I had been dreaming of the wedding that I planned since I was a little girl. So it was like my dream wedding from when I was a kid. So there was a lot of flowers. There was a lot of red flowers because I wanted red roses, and I wanted like a cute, like comfy red dress, which I found out later wasn't comfy. No one told me that there was boning in it. Which, if they did,
honey,
I would have changed
corset.
it.
Corsets have boning.
I thought they all looked so cute, and no one's. Listen, I don't know fashion.
You tried it on. Corsets have boning.
I thought it was great. I was like, this is fantastic. I love this feeling. Maybe I like corsets. Also, I had a corset wedding dress. That makes sense.
Also, we didn't have you sit down in the corset.
No,
wedding
I
dress.
didn't. But I did. But once it was brought up to me, I said, yeah, of course. Bring different dresses to change into. Something you're comfortable in. Bring flats. I don't care. As long as it's after pictures, change into whatever you want. Sweats.
And
I
they
don't
did.
care. And be comfy. Oh, yeah. And
They
it
did.
Great.
They did.
I didn't know that it was that uncomfortable. To be fair.
I think I put flats on.
You did. Yeah.
That was
I
the
think
only
you wore
change.
flats to the whole wedding.
I think I did, because you know me, I was big and my ankles are shit. So
well, you asked too. You're like, do you want me to wear heels? I'm like, no, I don't give a shit if you wear heels.
Yeah.
I wasn't wearing heels. Joey and I are the same height. It was great.
Yeah.
So I didn't wear heels. I hate heels. So that was lovely for me.
So I believe I know the answer to this one, but we're gonna ask it anyway, because it'll be, who helped you the most during the planning process, and how did that make a difference for you?
Obviously, Faith. She helped immensely with things because she had been married before me. She'd only been married a couple of years before Joey and I met.
Yeah.
Like it was their wedding, and then Joey and I met.
Okay.
Like if we had met sooner, I would have been at her wedding, and that would have been fun for me.
Oh, it would have been a.
She said it was a blast. She's amazing.
I just did adult
She's
bingo
a
with her, and
great
that was
party.
a blast.
Oh yeah, she's a great party.
We did
fan.
her 30th birthday party, and that was a blast.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, it was not good.
Vaguely.
It was the morning after was not good.
But before kids, woof.
In your planning process,
Jeez.
what was the hardest decision you had to make? Was it like the date or the venue, the bridal party, the vendors, costs, people invited? What was your hardest decision?
Probably people invited, just because I didn't understand that there's going to be a chunk of people that just don't show up.
Industry rates like
If I had known,
20 to 30%
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
industry
It's
rate.
about a third. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I had known that, I would have invited way more people. But I invited the people that were the closest to us, which we had a small wedding,
Yeah.
which is
We did.
fine because we're both kind of like we're not antisocial. We're just like okay, we're introverts. So the more people at a function, the less comfortable we are.
Yeah.
So it was already going to be a small wedding, but if I had known how many people were just going to be like, nah. And that wasn't completely the people that we invited's fault. My family decided they were just not going to come, which it's upsetting, but it is what it is. But we would have invited way more people, I think. And then yeah.
Yeah. And then watch the melt then happen and not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we knew we had a max with 150, but we also had family and friends, Seattle, California, like very far out, very understandable that they're probably going to be no's to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up inviting 170, 173, somewhere in that
Mm-hmm.
ballpark. We ended up with 142 accepted
Yeah.
as of our like final head count date, and we ended up with 138
Yeah.
in person at the time. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like that melt phase, like we couldn't go any
See,
lower than 125 because that was like the minimum for food and
so
drink.
I didn't know to invite more, so I invited exactly
Just,
150.
yeah,
Like
period.
specifically. Yeah. Done.
And then you have the declines, and then you have the accepted but no shows.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
piss me off
No.
the most. You're supposed to be here. It's a thing. I invited you to it. I paid for your plate.
Right. There's very few excuses that
Mm-hmm.
I accept for your wedding. What were some of the must-haves on your list?
Open bar.
And and okay, for every must-have, were they worth it? So she
Mm.
said yes for open bar. I personally will vote yes, it was worth it. I needed it. It had been
Yeah.
anxiety-ridden day at the
Yep.
start and then stressful towards the middle, and by the end I was just disgusted with people.
Yes.
So yes.
Yes. I love all of you. I love all of you who attended my wedding. She loves everyone who attended her wedding. But
Except
at
for
a
one,
certain
except for
point,
one person.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't like one
Yes,
person.
one person. And that was for my wedding. But at the end of the day, who oh, I'm just done with people. I don't want people anymore. Next morning at breakfast, I didn't want to see anyone. I saw you and you're like, hey, and I'm like, hey, we're leaving. You're like, chill. See you later.
So you wish that maybe you and Joe would have stayed elsewhere, not attached to where everyone else was staying in the venue.
My dad had the bedroom next to us. He got
it.
the room next to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
see,
Okay, there you go.
God bless Keith.
Yeah.
I know you kind of had built in your head, as a lot of us do, an idea of your wedding for the day, but how did you kind of come to the mutual decision process with Joe of kind of saying like, "Hey, this has always been my dream," or is it like my rules, my road, man?
No,
But
no,
the
no.
process for deciding your theme or your vibe or your set for the wedding.
Oh no, that was just I was like, hey, I was thinking of this. And he's like, okay.
He's a yes man.
Sounds great. He's not a yes man. It was just this was something that was important to me. The wedding, the marriage part is important to him, was important to him.
Okay.
The how we got there, he didn't care. If there was something he needed to do, you let him know. But otherwise, like he was the one who got the party bus, picked his groomsmen, all that stuff. But everything else, he was like, no, you can I trust you.
Aw,
Whatever you want to
I
do.
love
I love him so much. I really do.
I laugh at this one. How did you handle the stress of planning, if there was any? Listen,
I
friends.
didn't.
Listen, friends. There is stress in planning anything from birthday party to home move to there is stress, period. Anything you have to plan out, there's going to be stress. And even a person like me who loves to plan, I get the high off the stress. There is stress. So
Yeah.
back to you. How did you handle the stress?
So mainly it was just paying for things. So I had to work
So
at an
financial.
agency, an EMS agency that I didn't like for about a year and a half. And that was just it. So everything else was like, I knew what I wanted. I knew what I was getting.
It was like the ends justify the means.
Yeah. So the most stressful part was just getting the money for it, which we paid. I paid for almost our entire wedding. We had a little bit of money come in from his dad and my dad, but it wasn't like, $15,000 that we're paying for everything. And they're like, okay, well, we'll just send you this much to help out. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. And we used it for whatever we wanted. There was no
Okay.
strings attached.
Yeah.
It was just, here's this. If
That's
you can.
awesome.
Yeah, it was really great. It was really sweet.
Yeah.
And his mom was wonderful too during everything. So,
Yeah. What advice would you give from, again, the 9 years out perspective to brides to be who are in the trenches of it and planning about the planning of their wedding or just the execution of it the day of? What advice would you give?
I'll give you the advice that Faith gave me, which was I can bring up Faith. She's a saint now.
Same Faith.
Saint Faith. She gave me the advice of plan your wedding however you want, do what you need to do. Make sure that there's things that you are going to want more than other things. Make sure you splurge on those. That's what you save your money for. If it's your dress, if it's your DJ, if it's your catering, whatever. But know the day of your wedding, something will go wrong. Something. I don't know what. You don't know what until the day of, but something will go wrong. Be prepared for that. No matter how much you plan, no matter how much you have in place to catch those fallen plans, something's going to happen that is just going to be, whether it's the weather, whether it's, your flowers don't show up on time, people, whatever it is, something's going to go wrong. Be prepared for it and take it in stride. Just live in the moment of, yeah, it's a big party. You planned for this. It's going to be a lot. But at the end of the day, you're marrying the person that you love, that you want to spend the rest of your life with. And that's what matters most. That's what matters most.
How long did it take for you for the that's my husband, I'm married, to fully kick in? Because we know it's not day of. Day of, you're still you might say it that's my husband. But the first time you actually walked around, said oh, I miss this so-and-so, or
See the next day.
Yeah. Okay.
So we had our wedding on a Friday. Saturday, the next day was our reprieve. And we packed. And on Sunday, we went on our honeymoon. We went to Ireland. And in Ireland, you tell them you're on your honeymoon. They are so excited. They're like, you came here.
You picked Ireland. You didn't pick Jamaica. You didn't pick
You picked Ireland. You picked Ireland. We got so much free whiskey. My dude, I got a free bottle of wine. We met some Aussies who had just moved to Ireland. They were fantastic. They took us to an actual Ireland Irish, this is where the locals go, whiskey bar. And we drank them under the table. I was so proud of that. And they paid, whoever drank the most, whoever could outdrink the other people, that's who paid for the tab. They paid for our tab. It was great. We had a blast. But Irish people are so sweet. They're so wonderful. I recommend to anyone to go to Ireland at least once.
This is a note from the editing room. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be returning later on this week with the next episode of The Wedding Wear, featuring the second half of the interview and talking with Jess about the wedding and advice that she would give to couples from her many, many years of being happily married. Thank you for listening to The Wedding Wear with Officiating by Amanda. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found some inspiration or insight for your own special day. This podcast is hosted on Buzzsprout and can be found on all major platforms. If you haven't already, please subscribe, comment, and share to help us reach even more listeners who might laugh a little at The Wedding Wear. For the links referenced in the show, visit Linktree at Officiating by Amanda. You can also follow the business on Facebook, Wedding Wire, and The Knot to stay up to date on everything going on. If you have a question you'd like me to answer on the podcast, just send an email to theweddingwearpodcast@gmail.com. And if you're ready to inquire about officiating services for your own big day, you can reach me at officiatingbyamanda@gmail.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, this has been Amanda.